Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 124 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I am super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast for all things vegan. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Visit my website to learn more about how to support the podcast, sign up for a meditation session, and everything else I'm up to. I have joined forces with Jennifer Shulmovich of The Confident Vegan to bring you the next great thing in morning TV, That Vegan Morning Show, which airs on YouTube every Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Join our mailing list and get a free recipe ebook of some of our favorites. Today, I am joined by Deborah Emin and Suzanne Pyrch of the Locals Bookshop. Deborah and Suzanne are a married couple and the owners of the Locals Bookshop. The Locals Bookshop is a vegan pop-up that makes its rounds in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and occasionally other states. What began at their local farmers market has expanded to a number of VegFests and other indoor events. Deborah is a newly elected board member of the Animal Defenders Greater Lehigh Valley, and she serves in her local community on the Economic Development Committee as vice chair and on the Revitalize 209 committee as chair. Deborah also sings in her church choir. Suzanne spent most of her work life as a high school music teacher in Queens, New York. She's been retired for 14 years now, and luckily, retirement has proven to be nearly as busy and as interesting as teaching. Suzanne is happily involved in her local Episcopal church, and her love of music is kept alive by participating in several community performing groups. The Locals Bookshop gives Suzanne an opportunity to do work she believes in, as well as have fun meeting and talking to the interesting people who stop by their table. I've been lucky enough to meet both Deborah and Suzanne in person multiple times, at 2 VegFests and then this year once at Ethos Farm to Health. They are spectacular and proof that when you connect your skills with your mission, you can create something truly special. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Suzanne. Welcome. I'm so glad you're both here with me tonight.
Hello. Hello. We're glad to be here too.
Well, let's get right into it. Tell me about your vegan journeys. Who wants to go first?
I just got pointed to. You couldn't see it. Yeah, I think one of the things that led me going back even before vegan is Deborah used to make dinner for me when I was teaching, and she was always so good about it. She's a good cook, but I wanted to be like creative. So I said, when I retire, I'm taking this over. And I realized that really all the books in the restaurants that I liked were at that time vegetarian. We went vegetarian first. I like the colors, I like the smells and the tastes and the spices you have to add. And so I originally went towards this for taste, actually, and because I was the cook then, Deborah was in it too, and we were doing this. And she'll tell you her part of the story because that plays in, because we kind of went through this all together. But because of a health issue, when she cut out dairy, she was kind of vegan, just, by default. And it took me a while because I thought I couldn't give up eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved eggs. But I did it during Lent, right? I gave up eggs for Lent. And I thought, and I knew if I could do it for Lent, I could just do it. And then, of course, I found tofu scramble, and I'm fine. Been vegan ever since. And Deborah?
And then my journey. So I often forget to tell this part of the story because I find it a little bit embarrassing. But I still own it. I own a publishing company. And one of the things I wanted to do with the publishing company was publish books that people might not be able to find in any other circumstance. So eventually I was introduced to a man in Las Vegas named Paul Graham, who did a blog called Eating Vegan in Vegas. And he set himself the goal of eating out in Las Vegas, a vegan meal every day of the week for 365 days.
Wow.
And he did it, and he blogged about it. And I was introduced to him, and I published his book. And it was quite an experience because it was the first, I think, book of that kind at that time. But we were still vegetarian. I wasn't vegan yet. And it was a little weird because I'm telling him how to go about selling his book, and I'm not in that community.
Mm-hmm.
So within a very short period of time after publishing Eating Vegan in Vegas, I published Eating Vegan in Philly. And what I was trying to do was hit different parts of the country and show how you could not just what restaurants to go to, but also how the vegan community worked in those areas. And the man whose books I published then is Vance Lamecool, who's part of now the American Vegan Society and does their history tours and all of that, and is really influential in the vegan world in Philadelphia and beyond. But and it was at that time that we were vegan, but I became vegan because I developed a liver issue due to the amount of dairy. And the doctor I saw was so helpful because he said, basically, there's nothing to do for this, but change your diet and exercise. And no doctor that I knew a lot of people who had the same issue. None of them had that doctor, and none of them were given that advice. And I recovered, and I became vegan. To be honest, I never looked back. I never thought, oh, I'm missing something. I never felt that. Even giving up the cheese and the ice cream and all, it was never, I said no, and that was it. And we lived, and there wasn't great. It was just as So Delicious was starting to sell their coconut ice cream, but there wasn't, and we were camping a lot. So we were doing 10-week camping trips.
Wow.
And Suzanne was cooking, and we were vegan and carrying most of our food with us. We never went and ate. We stayed vegan. We never cheated, nothing, and was not even of interest. So I think part of it was health. I think a lot of it was the animals. We had become acquainted with Woodstock Farm Sanctuary and spent some time up there and enjoyed the learning process, and also just the whole, that whole ethical thing about, would you really eat your best friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was a quick journey once it started, and then it just became our way of life.
And I think, once you become vegan for whatever reason, like for me, I said originally it was taste, and all the other reasons start to pop up, and you realize this is the right path for many more reasons than the reason I got into it.
Right.
The compassion. It's like, really, all those years growing up, I didn't think, why am I eating an animal? That this was, once a living being. And I didn't know enough at the time about the health benefits. But all those things are clearer to me now, and especially. I think as I got more and more into it, the top thing for me was how advantageous being vegan is for working on climate change. It's like it's like we try to do something reasonable, and fossil fuels and all of this, and it's daunting, but you can actually vote one plate at a time on how you treat the environment.
Yeah.
And Suzanne and I were going to demonstrate. We were marching against Monsanto. We were going to Washington for Bill McKibben's, demonstration. We were involved. We just hadn't made that connection. Yeah. And once that connection was made, then it was like, it is truly like there's a whole other world and another way of seeing the world that opens up for us. Which eventually, after many years of being vegan, and I think part of the reason the bookshop started had to do with where we live now. And all of that other stuff happened when we lived in Queens.
Okay. Yeah.
So now we don't live in Queens. We don't live in Queens anymore.
Where you are is quite different from Queens, wouldn't you say?
Quite a bit different.
And that's the reason we moved here.
Yeah, and in order, there were many more vegan restaurants that we could go to. I mean, in fact, there are no vegan restaurants where we live now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but living in New York, that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything had enough vegan options.
There were plenty of just 100% vegan restaurants, and certainly in the time we were living there were many more than there are now, because the pandemic hadn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
Restaurants weren't struggling in the same way that they are now, but it was kind of nirvana in that sense. So coming here might have seemed like a
step back in a way.
Step back, yeah. But in other ways, it was really a huge step forward.
Because the need is here, so it's like we're the little puzzle part we need to put in the jigsaw puzzle. The other people are taking care of it in New York. We need to do it here. And not that there's not others around who are doing things here, but it's just very different.
For sure. Just a quick side note. Are you guys Mets fans?
No, we're not.
God, no. Yankees since I was a kid. I'm sorry.
Thought we could bond over that.
Because we live in Queens, right?
Yeah.
Is that why you're asking?
But we
didn't always live in Queens.
But I'm also old enough when I remembered that there was no such thing as Mets.
The Mets.
So they're the upstarts for me. They're just the upstarts.
All right. Well, I digress.
And you're allowed.
Anyway, back to where we were moving to. So the Locals Bookshop. So
Yes.
You mentioned that where you're living now, you realized there was a need, that there wasn't this vegan movement happening where you are. And that's where the bookshop came from. So what made you go, it should be a bookshop, not a restaurant or a cafe or something else?
Well, first of all, we don't have that kind of money. And so investing in a building, whether you rent, or you own, having to have employees, having to be working 7 days a week, all of that was, and we're also book people. I mean, this is how we were. I'm a writer. I'm a publisher. I taught writing. All of my working life has been focused on books in one way or another. So I wouldn't have even thought about opening a restaurant.
She's been in publishing for years, and so she knows things. How to get the books, who to go to, who to help. Deborah's really quite brilliant, and she knows the background of this, so opening, a restaurant, just kind of, we would have been falling all over our feet,
And we would have failed within 2 minutes. I mean, that is such a much more difficult business, and especially if you know nothing about it. So this was a world I know.
Mm-hmm.
I never owned a bookstore, and I certainly wasn't going to own a brick and mortar store. First of all, because we just couldn't afford it. But the idea of a pop-up also was, we live in an area. Well, first of all, let me go back a step. So one of the reasons we started the bookshop and made it a vegan pop-up bookstore was because of the incidence of type 2 diabetes in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that being vegan was one surefire way, to help people get out of that really, really devastating illness, which then, as you know, cascades into all, heart disease and cancers and all. It's just horrible. So we knew that. So I knew what the incidence of type 2 diabetes was in our county. So we have a county of 168,000 people. And of that 168,000, 20,000 have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which is a huge percentage of the population. And therefore, we felt, well, there is a need. They may not know it, but we could fulfill it. And so when I thought of this, I reached out to the American Vegan Society for help to provide materials that we could hand out at the bookshop. I reached out to Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and I reached out to PETA. And all three of those organizations have given us all along for these entire 4 years free material to distribute, and PETA even includes a lot of nice stickers and comic books for kids. So we have a way to distribute information that costs people nothing, and people come to us for that. It's become a thing, and we're very happy to do it and give up some of the space where we could be selling books to do that. So, and then I had been on a podcast when Paul Graham's book that I told you about, Eating Vegan in Vegas, with Laura Theodore, who's the jazzy vegetarian. And we connected really well, and we actually visited her in North Carolina.
She's a very lovely lady.
When we were there on a camping trip. And she helped us out by donating some books of hers in the beginning, which was really, really helpful, because it gave us sort of, it was a way to start thinking about how to curate this bookstore, which isn't, since there are no models, you can't go to a bookstore and look at what they've got and say, oh, I could be doing that. Because I've been to books, there is nothing. There's nothing of what we carry on any, level of real dedication to animal rights or activism, or just stories.
Deborah's a very good curator.
Our children's books. We have the most phenomenal children's books, and they're all dedicated to teaching children about compassion for animals. And they're beautiful, and they're award-winning, and they're put together by people who are just Cheryl Moss is one of the authors of 3 of the books we care, and she's an amazing person outside of the book world, but here she's doing this also. So I feel like that part of the business is so exciting to me, to be able to bring together all of these books. And then it turns out that there's actually one major publisher in this country called Lantern Publishing and Media, who is the publisher of most of the books we carry. I mean, we do have books from other publishers, but they're not as deep of catalog as what Lantern carries. So I felt very, to be honest, I don't even remember how I found them. But, you have to just feel like somebody pushed you.
Yeah.
There it is. Here's the catalog you really want. And I remember placing the first order, and I was like, I can't believe this. And then we were at Asbury Park, the VegFest at Asbury Park, with these children's books for the first time, and we sold out what we brought with us. People had never seen such great books.
And we like them because they seem to be more along our thought processes. Like, my joke is we're a for-profit company that has a long-range plan to break even. We're not doing this to make a lot of money. We've been building, and it's better because then we have more money to buy books.
That's what it goes to.
And Lantern is publishing these books that are not going to be on the some fancy Borders bookshelf in the front window
anymore.
Well, that's why they won't do it, right? That's why they stopped doing it, actually. But you know what I'm getting at.
Yes.
They seem to have an ethical base, and want this to be out there the same way we do. And that's one of the reasons that I like having, like Deborah says, the free stuff, that it's good information that people can use. But I like it also because it's like, casting um, fishing. They come and go, oh, this is. I said, oh yeah, and we also have this, and it is one way to get people to look at our books, and I believe in our books, so we sometimes steer them in all kinds of directions that'll be helpful to them.
Yeah.
I mean, and one of the surprises of this whole enterprise has been that Suzanne, who you wouldn't believe this, but she is actually shy and doesn't like to talk much. But at the bookshop, she is a natural bookseller. She gets people to talk to her about what they cook and what they like to eat, and then she knows exactly which cookbook to send them to and to tell them why they would like that book and what recipes in that book they would find useful at first. It's an amazing talent. So I am the recipient because she uses our kitchen as the test kitchen for these cookbooks.
Nice.
Yes, I eat very well.
But it's fun, and I surprised myself. I'm not usually somebody that can sell things, and I am more on the shy side. But like I said, I love to eat, I love to cook, and it helps that I believe everything I'm saying when I talk to these people. It's like I'm not leading them down the path that's going to be bad for them at all.
Right. Yeah. When I first encountered you both, I was at the Asbury Park VegFest earlier this year in May of 2025. And I loved that you had more than just cookbooks, right? People see, there's vegan books at a Veg Fest. You almost go into it thinking it's just going to be cookbooks. We're here for food. So, and then to see there were books about like water and the environment and the animal rights. And then you have these adorable little critters that are crocheted. Yeah. And you've got the buttons, ask me why I'm vegan. I bought one of each of them.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and they're on my bags and stuff, so people ask me.
Oh, they do? That's good. That's what we wanted to do, is start conversations.
Absolutely. But I just, from the minute I saw your setup, and it was just great and a wonderful surprise. And I'm glad that we've been able to interact a little bit since then too.
Yeah.
And now to be here and getting the whole story of how it came to be is just really wonderful. And I'm so glad you're doing this.
Well, we were pop-up and attending, only outdoor events because that's where pop-ups go. And what else was there to do? And where else could you go? Right? There isn't, during those cold, rainy, wintry, snowy
rain,
and then we can't have them outdoors. And there isn't. We originally started at our local farmers market because we wanted to be near food. And we thought, wow, this is great. We can talk to people about the effects of how they're eating and, what they should be eating. And there it is. You can point them to all of those green, dark leafy greens and the root vegetables so that usually farmers markets don't allow booksellers to be included because you don't produce the books, you're just selling them. But our local Monroe Farmers Market did let us in, and we've been there every year. And then we started thinking, maybe we should be doing more than for the farmers market. So we went to the Lancaster Veg Fest. That was the first one we went to, and it's 2 days. But we only went one day because we had no idea how to do this. I didn't know. I had no idea, how many books do I order? How do I, set up for 2? I couldn't imagine it. So we just went one day, and then they asked us to stay the second day, but we chickened out and came home. But ever since then we've gone both days, and then we started adding, more events to our calendar, and then it was like, okay, it comes to the end of October. We tried doing it in November, and we missed most of those because it's either rainy or so cold here that we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I kept wanting to do an indoor season, in November through April. And then just through a series of coincidences, we have a space once a month at the Eastern Public Market, which is indoors.
Mhm.
We are going to the New Jersey VegFest, which is in Montclair, and indoors in November.
Nice. I'll see you there.
Oh, good. Again.
Good. That's
and
good.
and then our local township is doing a community kind of holiday shop and tree lighting event at the end of November, and the vendors will be indoors. So we have that. And then we did an event at Ethos Farm to Health a couple of weeks ago.
Very good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we did the best we've ever done anywhere. We almost sold out all of the cookbooks
Wow.
while we were there. I know. It was incredible.
Yay.
And they gave us free vegetables.
And then they handed it, and then as we're
Beautiful
leaving, they gave us
vegetables.
a huge bouquet of cut flowers. Oh my God. It was just an incredible, incredible day.
I
So
love them.
they're
And
fabulous.
I just want to say, one of the other pluses for me in being part of the farmers market here is that we very much feel like then we're part of the community.
Mhm.
And and like we said, it's pulling people from behind, but when people start to recognize us,
Yeah.
and I mean, even when things don't always go as fast as we want, there's such incredible conversations with people. There's stories. I'm always amazed when they come up and say, "Oh yeah, I've been vegan for a while, and we did it because I've got this disease and I don't have it anymore."
Mm.
A lot of very good health stories. And the woman came up and said, "Oh yeah, my husband's epileptic, and we went vegan, and he hasn't had
A seizure.
the big mal, the grand mal seizures since we've, and all these wonderful stories about people that have found their way out of some really horrific situations through good food."
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I think there's a trend too that there are these young couples who come up to us especially at the farmers market, and they'll say, "We're really concerned about our health." And I think a lot of that has to do with, there's been a lot of publicity lately about the high incidence of colorectal and breast cancer in young people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, as we know, all of us in the vegan world, it's all due to processed foods, and that most of them have been raised on processed foods and they don't know another way to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so they come to us and they go, "I'm really worried about my health." And one or the other of us will give them, a talk about how to change their diet or whatever. And while they may walk away going, "Well, we're not yet ready," I know they'll be back.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're thinking. And the point is that things are shifting. And to be places where you can see this shift means that we can't just be in the vegan world.
Yeah.
Because in the vegan world, you mostly hear the stories of people who have already committed themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But to be in this other world where people are either on the fence or they're not quite sure what it even means. And
yeah, I've always said to Deborah, like, there's two things that we do. Like when we go to the VegFests, it's great because we sell more books, than we usually do. And it's like replenishing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, that's a backup to being like at the farmer's market where we get to reach people that need to be reached.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that because we're known now as both the book ladies as well as the vegans, people reach out to us. There's a new community that opened here, and they reached out to us because they're a vegetarian religious community, and they want to go vegan, but they don't even know how to. And they're huge. I mean, they're global. Wow. So we're not in the...
A lot of their members are vegan.
No, they're not. They eat vegan, but they're not vegans. Those menus are vegetarian. They're not vegan. Anyway, the point being that they're global, and while it's going to be a tremendous effort, a lot of work to move this community, The fact that they reached out, the fact that we have access to them, the fact that they're interested, is huge, because they planted themselves in our township, which, to be honest with you, is probably has, is a leader in that type 2 diabetes group. And so to feel that we could have some impact in that way is really right. It's exciting, and it makes us realize people hear about us and we don't even know where they've heard about us.
Yeah. Isn't that the best feeling?
It is, because we don't have money to promote ourselves I do our Facebook promotion. I do our, we don't have money, because everything we use our own money to buy the books. And then the books we sell, we use that money to buy more books. And then we use our money to do the pay to be at the VegFest and to stay overnight. So it isn't like it's more a mission than it is a business.
Yeah.
We talked about this. We were explaining to people at church once, and this very lovely woman who's like head of our prayer committee, and she said, "It sounds like you have a ministry," and it just you are so right.
And then they put them in our bookshop on their prayer list, and for 4 years we've been on this. So maybe that's one of the reasons.
I think so. We didn't, we just tried to be, on part of this praying group too, and we saw that we were already on there, and it's like, oh, they've been praying for us all this time. That is why we're doing so well.
So whatever the reason, it's nice to feel that you can start creating this broader network.
Yeah.
And even with Ethos, I wrote to them 2 years ago to say, can we work together? And it took them 2 years to write back. But I didn't, that's great, because they're a wonderful organization. And we're there, you want to talk to us? We're there. And that's where I met you again for Angela's book signing. And that's where we met Jennifer as well.
Yep. Yeah. I love it there. I'm there weekly because I live close enough to go to the market.
Oh,
yeah.
That market is great.
It's such a beautiful market.
Yeah.
When we were there for the whole day like that, to just be able to sit there and look out at those fields.
Yeah.
And you lead a class, right?
We got purple mustard greens to go home. They were so
beautiful. Nice. Yeah.
She made a great soup with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best produce I've ever eaten.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But you lead a class or two.
I do. Yeah, I lead meditations there.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's nice. Really nice. What a beautiful place for it too. It's so serene, and the energy there is so wonderful.
It is amazing. And it's amazing we talk about the books, being at where there's food, because people can learn. And then there you have the fields and the produce and a doctor, who's trained. And it isn't about pills. It's about food.
Yeah.
We often joke that we go to our doctors and they ask you, where's your pharmacy? They never ask you, what do you eat?
Right.
Or what have you been thinking about that's bothering you, or nothing. It's where's your pharmacy? And
they're always amazed that we're not on any prescription drugs. Across the line.
Yeah.
None.
And it's always a shock to them. It's like every time you come, nothing. And how do you do that? And it's like, they don't. That's the thing that's sort of, there's that cognitive dissonance about being vegan, right?
Yeah.
Here you have somebody who comes in and says, I need no medication. Suzanne, I'm 70, almost 77. Suzanne is almost 76. Is that all right to say?
Why not?
Okay. And we're not.
It's not like we're lying.
Yeah, you're not going to lie about your age. Yeah. But, we are not on any medication, and we don't intend to be. We live very nicely. We enjoy our lives. We're happy people. We eat really well. And we have no need for medication. And they don't have any interest in that.
Yeah.
Well, I think they don't understand it. It's
Right.
nothing they've been taught. They like
Well,
can't
they don't
believe
live in
it.
it. I mean, so in the 2006 or 7 or something like that, the man who was head of the American College of Cardiology went vegan because he had a heart attack, and he discovered that his clogged arteries could be cleared up by eating what Dr. Esselstyn, prescribes.
Yeah.
And there it is. And then you go to a cardiologist.
They're
Like
clueless.
they're just, and it's very frustrating, as you know.
My mom is a almost 13-year lung cancer survivor, and when she goes, it's amazing. And when she goes to her doctor for her annual scans, and nothing's changed, and she's doing well, and she doesn't need anything from them, the doctor's always like, just keep doing what you're doing. Okay. Like, don't tell me about it. I don't want the details, but just keep doing it.
Lord. Yeah. He's afraid he might learn something.
He might,
God
have
forbid.
to change. I broke my ankle in January. So the date of you do these things, right? So the orthopedic guy I saw, I went to him. He took x-rays, obviously, every week I went. So it was 3 weeks post-break. And he told me it had happened 6 weeks ago. And I said, no, it happened 3 weeks ago because the bones had knitted back together. In order for bones to grow back together, there's a certain kind of, it's kind of like an oozy glue that the body produces that allows them to heal. But because I had gotten my friends to bring salads to the hospital, and then the chef at the rehab place was cooking and a lot of greens and beans for me, everything healed.
Yeah.
And this doctor, when I said, do you want to know how that happened? Do you know what his response was? He walked out the door. It's really, so you see, it's not just that we're up against people who, are sick and don't understand. We're up against doctors who really could care less.
Yeah. Yeah. It like Suzanne, like you were saying, it doesn't make sense to them. And then also, I mean, we know that there's money involved when pharmaceuticals are prescribed. And so there's that whole thing too. And it isn't always in the best interest of the patient. It's more in the best interest of the pockets of certain people.
Yes.
It's tough. And so to know that you have a way that you can live, and you two are proof of that, because you are so vibrant, the two of you sitting here. There's just this just beautiful energy coming off of you both, because you are so vibrant.
Well, we enjoy it.
Yeah.
Vegetables are just the most amazing things. To grow, to watch, to eat, to think about, to photograph, whatever. And their colors and they just make, we are all attracted to colors. Look at your wall. I mean,
it's great.
It's a great color. Why do we do those things?
But also what you were talking about, it is so right too, because one of the books that we sell, not a lot of, because it's so big, is the China study. And it was, I did make it through that book, because it was so amazing. But he talks about, we found this, empirical information, but getting it through to people, the backlash from government, the backlash from the medical industry, from the medical industry, from, the drug industry, they just don't want to face it.
So I read the China study, and because of that, I got the plant-based nutrition certificate from the T. Colin Campbell, group. And I have to say, it was life-changing to do that.
Yeah.
Because I felt so much more confident when we're out selling books, that I know that what we're doing is based on reality.
Yeah.
It's based on science. It's based on things that we can, people might come and tell you that they disagree, but then, an opinion is not, it's yours. It hasn't been tested, and your opinion is fine. And I appreciate that you have one, but I would suggest maybe doing a little bit of research to find out whether or not that opinion, can stand the test of reality.
And I've picked up a lot of information from Deborah because sometimes we talk,
Sometimes.
And so when people do the usual question, what about protein? And you get to actually say that, you make your own protein, and the protein that animals make is the protein they make for them. And then if you're eating the rainbow, you're getting all the amino acids that you need, and to have that as the evidence, they don't quite take it in or want to believe it, but at least, it went through the ear. And well, we were with Angela on Saturday.
Oh, nice.
And she said people come up to her, say, well, I'm not going to be vegan, and then they ask a question, and I said, Angela, the fact that they're prefacing it that way,
Yep.
I said, I always think it means the seed has already been planted. Forget that they're never going to be vegan. Down the line, it's most likely going to happen. If they're asking real questions, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
All you need is the real evidence.
And I think, and the fact that vegans constantly are asked, where is because the meat industry and the dairy industry, that is their whole sales line.
Yeah.
And to know that the amount of protein, nobody has ever died from a protein deficiency, but people have died from too much protein.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to get people to see that they could be eating maybe too much protein, that maybe the amount of protein they're putting into their bodies, because it is also but these are the conversations that we generally spend most of our time having. And then there are those who come and want to talk about, animals, and that's really a lot of fun too, because we have really such an enormous collection of books on animal liberation, the rescuing of animals. What?
You want to tell her about the...
Oh, so we had this. The other day we were at the Lehigh Valley VegFests, and this woman came and picked up one of our books called children's book called Hope the Hopeful Piglet. And I don't know who she was with, but somebody she had been with was there with her, and they're reading the book, and it's a beautiful children's story about the rescue of a pig. And they're sitting there reading it, and all of a sudden we look up and they're weeping. I don't mean they're weeping.
Yeah.
And it was, and we all started weeping.
We didn't know what went. Are you all right? She goes, no,
it's a book. And to have somebody come to the bookshop and stand there, because a lot of times we have to remind people, it's a bookstore. You're allowed to pick up the books and start reading them. And that they got so engrossed. And so it is a beautiful story. And it is worth weeping about. And I think sometimes that's another part of being a bookseller that you can't have, that people forget about, when they go to a Barnes and Noble, for example, or they buy their books on Amazon. They don't think about what it's like to just have that time and place to sit and read a book.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, and it's such a pleasure to offer that.
I was just thinking about, as you're telling the stories, but the conversations that you're having with people, and they're buying books, and just think about the amount of people that you've talked to. They pick up their first vegan book, whether it's a first cookbook or a book about animal rights or climate, and they go home and that starts their vegan journey. What an incredible moment to be able to be part of, even if they never come back and tell you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
But there are other kinds of stories. We were at an event a couple of years ago, and there was this woman who brought her high school age daughter who was vegan, and they lived on a farm. She was the only one in the entire family who was vegan, and she put up with a lot of stuff at school. Her family was very nice to her, and her mother just adored her. I think she was the only daughter, and she had a few sons. It was a farm family. And one of the things that got me was we had a book on glyphosate, and she bought it. She had to have it. She had to understand what Roundup did and how it was put together and how it was made and what it's, and this book was all about that. And the mother's looking at her like, you really want this book?
That's what
And
you're reading?
This is what you want to read? Because farmers use Roundup. This is something that her family was using.
Yeah.
This wasn't an organic farm. And she wanted this book to have this information to deal with her family and about what they were doing. And she had started reading it, and she realized that it was going to give her the information that she could give to her family about what they were doing. It was incredible. And her mother knew that her buying that, she's like 16 years old and she's buying this book, which was written by a chemist. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is also why we're here, because there are people who want the information because they want to spread the information around.
Yeah.
And that's why the books on, books on how to become a vegan, but also on how to create a vegan world, or, think like a vegan. All of these books that make people realize they have a role in the world, that they can do something, that they're not just eating.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole, I'm about halfway into Angela's book, Vegan Transformations. And that's kind of her whole point is people are happier when they feel like they're making a difference, when they're in line with their own ethical basis.
Yeah.
And contribute something, and this is the perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
Her book is wonderful, and
I love it.
So we had asked her to come this past Saturday and sign books for us, because we had wanted her to be on. We had offered, to introduce her to see if she could be one of their speakers at this Veg Talk, but it was too late. We just didn't think about it fast enough. But so she came and signed books and talked to people. And there's another new book out that Lantern just published called, I always get the Vegan Made Easy. Okay. And so Angela's book is sort of the why do you become vegan? And this other book is sort of like how to become vegan. And so we're going to start selling them as a bundle with a discount as a Christmas, because it's a really, so, you start thinking about, I got to buy books for people for Christmas. Well, here's a great, way to do that. And to have both sides of it, how to do it, and then why to do it, So those kinds of opportunities too, to help people get into this world, which I just find magical. I find the vegan community that's in some ways it's like church.
I get that. Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been kind of noticing lately that's funny is we get a lot of people our age who are vegan, and then they had kids who weren't, and they're looking for books to surreptitiously kind of get the message to their grandkids.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yes, and so we have to be very careful about, we try to help them pick a book, that's like not too in your face, but still kind of keep it, and then the other thing that amazes me is we have a lot of parents or grandparents who come and tell us about their kids or their grandkids who at the age of 7, that seems to be a transitional age, made the connection themselves between animals and what was put on their plate. And when they made that connection, said, I'm not eating this,
Yeah.
So it was like a lot of 7-year-old kids have actually turned their families vegan.
Love
because
it.
Yeah, I know, it is great. I was always so amazed.
We get these
It did it.
We get clued into all these ways that the world is changing just by being a bookstore.
Yeah.
And I think booksellers play a very important role in their communities. And because in our area, literally within 50 miles, there is not one other new selling a bookstore selling only new books.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
You can't
I'd
find
say.
another bookseller.
Right.
I mean, there are, peripheral, but you'd have to try, and there isn't even, we don't even have a Barnes and Noble.
Mm. Yeah, so you guys are it.
We don't have a Borders because they're gone now.
Right.
We've long not had Borders. Where there once was a Barnes and Noble closer to here, but it's gone. So, and so people say, well, you could be a brick and mortar because there isn't, but, to
Yeah,
be
you
in
wanna
this
send
area
us?
and nobody would come to us,
Yeah.
So this is better to travel. We like traveling. So we
Mhm.
gave up the camping trips, the 10-week camping trips, and we do this
Nice.
for the whole summer.
At least it gets us out, and we
meet people
get to sell
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
and meet people like you.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that we met and that
Me
we're
too.
connected here and that we'll see each other in November at the VegFest and who knows when else. Well, I want to be respectful of our time, but I've got one more question for you.
Okay.
How does hummus show up in your life?
Well, I always have the joke that Deborah thinks a day without hummus is like a day without sunshine.
Oh, I agree.
It's her go-to food. We have a little drawer in our refrigerator, and it's mostly full with hummus. I like it too, but not the way I really like hummus. But Deborah, it's like every day. It's like what do you have for lunch, Deborah? Oh, my go-to, she says.
It's hummus.
I love it.
There is something. It is like, I don't know why it's the most incredible food ever conceived, but it is the basis of a good, healthy life.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's a healthy food. And I like the ones now that are the one I get is the beet. The beet. I love beets, and then they put it in hummus, and it's just the color is unbelievable.
So beautiful.
And it's great.
How did you get this idea to what is your connection to hummus?
So the idea to call the podcast "Did You Bring the Hummus" was based off of a meme of 3 like meat eating dinosaurs in the corner of the meme in front of a grill, and then the one that we typically know as a vegetarian dinosaur coming in from the bottom going, I brought the hummus. And it made me think about how many times I have brought hummus to make sure that I had something to eat at a barbecue or a party or something. And that it's always the go-to at a restaurant that doesn't have a lot of vegan options, but they have hummus. And so, it was the inspiration.
Well, that is a great inspiration. I like that. My diet obviously has there are 3 meals a day, and the second one, that pivotal linchpin one, is hummus. It just, that's what it is. But I have to say, going to any place and you're able to bring food, I have Suzanne. And Suzanne will create something to take with us, and everybody will love it. It's rare that people don't, oh, what was that?
Well, that's not true.
That is true. No, when we go to somebody's house.
But like when we go to church and we put a little sign that says, it says vegan, and people go, oh, that's nice, and they eat everything.
But if she doesn't put a sign, then they eat it, and they have no idea that what they just ate was the healthiest thing on the table.
Yep. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that you took an interest in us, because
of course
it means a lot.
Well, first of all, this was fun too.
Yes,
it was fun. Yeah, I really appreciate that you guys made the time to come and connect with me.
Oh, it's fun.
It was good.
I knew it would be.
Yeah, me too. Well, thank you both, Deborah and Suzanne, for joining me tonight. I can't wait for my listeners to hear this, because they're going to have fun as well.
That's great.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing you in November at the VegFest.
Yeah.
Yes, please come. And let's talk about where there's going to be a lot of food there, by the way. Have you seen the
Always.
vendor list?
Deborah has a friend who, what her favorites, her way of thinking things are good. She goes, cool beans.
Yeah, I have a friend. That's
Love
what
cool beans.
that's how, when things are really going well, she goes, cool beans.
So there'll be a lot of cool beans at the VegFests.
Absolutely.
Yes. A lot of old friends, right?
Yeah.
That's what it really ends up being, is a lot of old friends, which is really nice.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great community and it is so good to be part of it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
I
really
agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and being out here in sort of the world without vegans and in terms of food, we look forward to these events so much.
Yeah, me
So
too.
we'll see you there. And
Yeah.
thank you.
Look
Thank
forward to it.
It was
Thank you
very
both.
fun.
Welcome back. How great are they? I know that you can't wait now for a Locals Bookshop pop-up to come near you. If you're lucky enough, they'll be there soon. To connect with Deborah and Suzanne, visit their website, thelocalsbookshop.com. Follow them on Instagram at The Locals Bookshop or on Facebook at Go Vegan Buy Books. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. Get on my mailing list and stay up to date on all things Did You Bring the Hummus? Get more info on how you can sign up for a meditation, one of my programs, or to support the podcast via the links in the show notes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email at info@didyouBringTheHummus.com. Thanks for listening. Thank you.